Hello and welcome back everyone. In the last video, we have discussed everything about the Stafford Gambit. But that was the old style. It only works if the player is not aware of it. But nowadays, many of the players actually know the usual way of the Stafford Gambit and might not play that. So what to do? How to get that Gambit still from the black side? So here's the way. Now after e4, e5, knight f3, don't go immediately for Petrov or the Russian game that we have seen in the last video. If you want to do it more naturally, then first you play your bishop to c5, showing your opponent that you've actually blended a pawn. Now, when he captures your pawn on the e5 square, thinking that you have to catch your opponent off the guard, right? Your opponent might not be aware of bishop c5 because this is very unusual move, but you're setting up the same trap, just the move order is a little different. After he captures on e5 square, you still offer a knight to him, the trade of knights, attack his knight. He is going to capture you to ruin your pawn structure. The central pawn goes to the side, and now here he can play his pawn to d3, or he can play his bishop to c4, he can play his knight to c3. Anything is fine. The most common move played that thousands of people have played in this position is play the bishop to c4. Bishop c4 is preparing the king to castle, attacking your f7 square. And right now you see the difference in the last video and here. The last position was, instead of bishop on the c5 square, there was knight on f6. That was actually attacking the e4 pawn. Right now, there's no knight on f6, so there's no attack. Now, after bishop c4, you can go with the queen to d4, or else you can first capture on the f2 square. He captures it back, and then queen d4 wins the bishop for you with interest. You can also capture on the e4 square later. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is transpose to the last position with the change in move orders. What you can do here is play your knight to f6 and attack that e4 pawn. Now, since the e4 pawn is in danger, he might want to defend it. And when he places pawn to d3 here, then you can play your knight to g4, again with the same tactical idea that we have seen in the last video. Okay, I'm talking about the last video a lot. If in case you have missed that video, then the link is in the description box. Go and check it. Here, if your opponent castles, then you can still go with the same plan. Play your queen to h4. He has to defend it by playing his pawn to h3 because queen h2 was a checkmate. And then you capture on the f2 square. Now, if the rook captures it, then you can capture it back with the queen. And let's say the king goes to h1 over here. Then you have a nice tactical blow there just by playing a bishop to g4, attack the queen. If the pawn captures it, then we all are aware that queen to h4 would be a checkmate. But if the queen captures it, then also it is a spectacular checkmate by playing your queen to g1. Okay, well, this was when the rook was capturing it. If the rook is not capturing it and the queen is in danger, the queen tries to save herself by playing on the f3 square, trying to give you an attack on the f7 square. Then again, you go with the same idea, knight h3, a double check, the king moves, knight f2 check. The king has to move again, the queen, if it blocks, then you win the queen, the king goes to the g1 square, queen h1 will be a checkmate. Okay, so this was when he is defending his pawn on e4 with his d3 pawn. Now here, instead, what if he immediately goes and castle, thinking that black cannot capture this pawn on the e4 square because then he will come here himself into a pin. Rook e1 would come with a pin there. Okay, so you don't go for knight t4, don't go for a pin, but you go knight g4. Again, the same idea. Nothing is affecting us. Here, there are two ways how white can respond. One is natural, that he places pawn to h3. If he places pawn to h3, you can play h5, he capture back. And then you can play your queen to h4, the fishing pole gambit style, and then it will be a checkmate there. And if not that, you can also directly capture on the f2 square with your knight, because when the rook captures it, you capture the rook, the king captures it back, and queen to d4 wins you a bishop. You will be a piece up there. So knight f2 or bishop f2, anything is fine. You can do anything there. Now what if he's not playing his pawn to h3? Instead, let's say he defends the position by first playing his queen to f3. Now queen f3, idea is simple. He is defending the pawn on f2 with the queen. Also, he's giving an attack on the f7 square with the queen as well as with the bishop. You ignore the threat completely and you go with your plan. The idea for knight g4 was to play queen h4 and threaten him a checkmate. You do that. You play your queen to h4. Now, he can only give you one check here. Let's say he captures on the f7 square, gives you a check. Just move the king to the side. Now, what can black white do here? What other check does white have? Really, nothing. So, if he now tries to give you an attack to your knight on the h3 square, then you first give an attack to the queen. You are actually inviting one more piece to come and join the party. Play the rook to f8, attack the queen. The queen has literally one way to go and can go on the g7 square. Then, because you invited a new member, sacrifice it. Go with the rook to f2. Don't worry about queen g8 or anything, because rook can anytime come back on the f8 square. It will be a discovered attack and you are going to win the queen. So here, if the rook captures the rook on the f2 square, then it is all done, because now you can capture the rook on f2 with the queen, give a check, king has no choice but to go on the h1 square, and g1 will be a checkmate there. Alright, this was all about the new Stafford Gambit. I hope you liked the variation, and now you know how to transpose your position from a normal looking game into the Stafford Gambit. I hope and wish that you play this against your opponents and win a lot of games. If you like our video, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share with your chess friends. I'll see you again in the next video. Thank you.